Hello and welcome to this week's Reflect and Rejoice. I'm going to spend a few moments reading from Ephesians chapter 4, verses 1 to 6 and reflecting on these verses. Paul writes, I therefore, a prisoner for the Lord, urge you to walk in a manner worthy of the calling to which you've been called, with all humility and gentleness, with patience, bearing with one another in love, eager to maintain the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace. There is one body and one Spirit, just as you are called to the one hope that belongs to your call, one Lord, one faith, one baptism, one God and Father of all, who is over all and through all and in all. I wonder, have you ever heard someone describing their job in such a way like this? I'd love my job if it wasn't for the people. Maybe even you've uttered those words after a particularly difficult day at work. There was once a monk who lived in France, and he was so concerned to distance himself from the world and from other people that it wasn't just enough to lock himself away in a monastery. He went further than that. He moved into a cave to live entirely on his own. Except, of course, he still needed supplies, and so he had to interact with people when they came to drop off the supplies. So what he did was he decided to chisel out another part of the cave where he could go and be away from people when they delivered supplies to him, so he would avoid all contact with all people. I wonder, did he enjoy his job? Maybe you've heard someone say flippantly, or even at times of frustration, I'd really love my church if it wasn't for the people. Except, of course, the church are the people who have been saved by God through Jesus Christ and have His Spirit living in them, and therefore these people are the church. The church is God's people. And so someone who says, I'd really love my church if it wasn't for the people, is in fact saying, I'd really love my church if it wasn't for the church, which of course makes no sense. But if we're honest, the things that we do find at times difficult about the church is, of course, the church. It's the people. But you know what? I can also confidently and truthfully say that the times that I've been most blessed and most encouraged and most built up have been, of course, the times when I've been encouraged and blessed and built up by the church, by God's people. And I'm sure that's the same for you. The times when we are so encouraged and so blessed mixed with the times when we have frustrations. And of course the same things are present in each of those situations. It's us and other people. Oh, of course, except one more thing, God's Spirit indwelling each and every one of us. Paul is giving these straightforward commands to the church in Ephesus, and he's given them to us now for how we are to live and act as a church. And so he tells us we are to walk in a manner worthy of who we are as Christians. We are forgiven sinners. We have been adopted into God's family, and we've been given all of the benefits of being in God's family. So we are to act like the people that we are. We are to seek in all aspects of our lives to model Christ and His example. So we are to be humble. We're not to be arrogant or proud. We're to be gentle. We're not to domineer or bully. We're to be patient. We're not to be impatient or hot-headed. We're to bear with one another in love. So we're to try not to fall out with each other. We're to show grace to one another when things go wrong, and when on the occasions when we do fall out, we're to put things right. And we're to do this eagerly. We're to maintain unity eagerly. We're not to do it reluctantly or joylessly, but to seek it as a priority. But Paul isn't saying this in order that we get unity. Paul says we've already got it because we are Christ. We all have His Spirit at work within us. The unity that we have is not created by us. It exists because of Christ's work and Christ's Spirit at work in us. There is, of course, no human way that this unity would be achievable. And so what we're trying to do, Paul is trying to get us to do, is to seek to maintain what is already there through our status as God's children. So act as is fitting to our status through our actions and our attitudes. And so as we maintain this unity, we also declare to the world what the source of this unity is. which of course is the perfect unity displayed in God the Father, God the Son, and God the Spirit. We are simply evidencing and witnessing the perfect unity of the Godhead. And so as we do this, we are also declaring these truths about God to the world. Where Paul writes, there is one body, there is one Spirit, there is one hope, there is one Lord, there is one faith, one baptism, one God and Father. In a world which sometimes seems so very divided, the church should stand out like a bright light shining on a pitch dark night, as a place where divisions can be healed, where factions can be brought together, and where broken relationships can be reconciled. Because that is, of course, the centre of the good news of Jesus, isn't it? God at work reconciling to himself people who were once his enemies. And of course, as we seek to be obedient to Paul's commands to us, we are far, far more likely to experience the blessings and encouragements of being built up as well, aren't we? As we bless and we encourage and we build other people up. And as we do this, we can confidently and regularly declare, which is very much the case for me, I really love my church because I really love God's people. Thanks for watching.